is Mama's mantra. Hail the great Mo, the great Rhea, the great plant goddess, the great avatar of the Queen of Atlantis. I mistakenly in a talk said she lived many lives, making it sound like in different bodies. Let me clear that up here. And a big thank you to Mama Maria before we start. But to clear that up, Maria, in the hologram, as it replays the people who lived on the first time Earth after the Aldebaran giants restarted the human race with the smaller human. That from that time till World War II, the Aldebaran gods, after it all happened and the hologram was started, it became so important for the hologram to be real, so it could be used as the ultimate initiation process, by the Aldebaran gods. There were very important people initiated into the level of God. And this would be the gods of the smaller humans. You have the old big gods, the smaller new gods. And notice, Rhea, this is true. I was born and raised till I was moved out, till I was 20 years old, on Rhea Street. Because my neighborhood had a lot of Roman terms. And I'm not sure if that's exactly Roman or Greek, but we had Senate, we had Baron, Alda, Baron. I had Baron Street, crossed my street, Rhea. And of course that's the goddess married to Kronos, time. And that symbolizes Maria being married to the inner earth and her commitment to be here. And as she said, that should be proof enough for you, Joe. You were born and raised on Rhea Street. Maria Street. But the great Rhea is the avatar of that goddess, who is the queen, who was the Queen of Atlantis in the first time Earth. But when it replays in the hologram, those who have been initiated as gods are required to enter the hologram, the simulation, and live their life again, because it can't be trusted to just a projection. It has to be a real-time projection. And this exception is made. One of the gods can enter the simulation, as the Queen of Atlantis did, and when she becomes, aware, could be 3, 4 years old, or younger even, she switches bodies with another goddess for the rest of her life. This is the other life that Maria lives that life in the simulation. Of course, she did not live that life in real, physical, first time history. But because the hologram is so absolutely real, Maria knows a lot about the history. And the way she showed me this was the first, and I didn't even know it was her birthday. It was the first Halloween that we celebrated together, which is, as you know, her birthday. But I didn't know her name. Matter of fact, I failed to mention the first few rituals. She wouldn't let me see her face. And even the dream of her magic name, she hid part of her face behind her hair. She made her hair kind of flop over and cover half of her face. Because it was very important that I was unconscious of who she was. And back to Halloween 2011. I drink the mushrooms and go out of my body. This is just a quick skip ahead, and then I'm going to go back to the order. Just to how she revealed this to me is I clicked over to the inner earth, to a complete other world, and this beautiful black-haired, green-eyed woman. It reminded me of that she was dressed like a belly dancer, but maybe, not as revealing. Purple. Lots of purple. And me and Maria were standing there together, and she motioned with her head, look. And I looked, and it kind of scared me. I was like, oh my God, who's that? And she was standing perfectly still with her eyes open. I walked over, and I thought it was just I didn't know what I thought, and she blinked, and I jumped back. I go, oh my God, I'm sorry. Hi, who are you? And Maria goes, she's me. I turned around, and I go, what? And she goes, well, she's the Queen of Atlantis that I was telling you about, and how I switched bodies with her. She's, let me just say, Maria made it clear, only the gods are allowed to do this. No one else is living in someone else's body. No one is living multiple lives in the simulation unless they're channeling and using someone else in a slavery type situation. But that is not at all reincarnation. The Elderbearing gods do not let you just pick a body and go to the simulation. Completely never happened. Never will. Which brings me to the next ritual, which was actually the initiation of my middle daughter, who, as Maria instructed, to initiate her. First, it was my wife. Then, I was given a list. Some couldn't do it. It came to my middle daughter, and she agreed. And so, I had to accompany each initiate with the 5 grams. So we both took 5 grams. And the person who is helping the other person dances as long as they can, creating energy to basically blast the person into the inner earth where they can remember. because that's where we're trying to get them into their true self, which is memory. Memory taking human form. Eternal memory is what your true self is. That's what your essence is. Everything else is its creations. Beautiful, artistic creations. So I am dancing and protecting my daughter with a wall of energy around her. And Maria's right there, and she says, I'll take over. I'll keep the dancing. You lay down and go inside. And when I did, I was in a memory of, I think I was about 5 years old. And my stepfather, my mother, and I were at the grocery store in our big old car. And we were just leaving the grocery store. And I was in the back seat. And the car had a straight across seat, that could fit probably 4 people, but no separate seats. It was just one seat all the way across. And so I would stand in the back seat, in the back of the car, and stand with my head right over their seat talking to them. That's how careless we were, and this was probably 1974. So I am sitting there like this, and I hear them start to fight. And so I'm in a memory now in the ritual. I see my little self in the back seat, and we're pulling out of the parking space. We're driving through the parking lot. They're yelling at each other. I'm standing behind their seat, completely no seatbelt at all, standing. And all of a sudden I recognize what's going to happen. Maybe 2 seconds before, in me now watching the memory. And as we're driving through the parking lot, I'm like, this is the car accident. This is the horrible car accident. And here comes a car just barreling through the parking lot like they don't see us going down the aisle. Straight for me, standing with no seatbelt on behind the seat. And in my ritual, my true self's voice appears and says, we're going back through your life and correcting everything. Here's what really happened. And when the cars, so everything slowed down, and I seen as the car was 100 yards away, my mother's thoughts were about my stepfather. I hate you, and I wish you were dead. And her thoughts went to the driver of that other car that was going to hit us and took over his car. And the reason this happened, I found out later, is because it was being empowered by a black magician because it used my mother's thoughts, but as I got closer, it clearly was intended to kill me. And everything slowed down in my ritual to show me what happened and how thoughts create reality. As the car impacted our car on the driver's side, on my stepfather's side, he was driving the car. My mother intended for the car to hit him and kill him. But it wasn't really her. She was being used. And the real intention was for that to be a decoy to kill me. And I would never make it to speak to you. As the car hit our car, my true self slowed the simulation down. And I seen a drawer open in my chest. A little drawer slid out across my chest where my heart would be. And a white light flew in there, and it slammed shut, and the car slammed into our car, and my true self took the little boy and moved him about 1 foot and saved my life. And there I was with my true self, and he said, I had to intervene. I loved the little me and didn't want it to end. I didn't know if I was allowed. I did it anyway. And I turned around to Maria. And when I did, we were standing on the airplane from the week before, from my dream, from the revelation of her magic name. And I went to say to her, like, what was that white light? And she was standing like 6 inches from me, looking straight into my eyes. She's 5'2", so she's tiny. I'm looking down at her. And she's got her stewardess uniform on. And she's just looking straight into my eyes with a serious face, not saying anything. And I'm like, I get it. That was my true self. And she throws the jacket off. And she starts to back away from me, still just staring with her serious face. And she takes the little bow tie off and throws it. And me and her our minds meet. And I say, what are you doing? Are you taking your clothes off? And she unbuttoned one button on her blouse, her button-up blouse, and she let all her hair out, which goes almost down to the floor. And she shook all her hair out, and she let one button undone. And she started dancing to the music, and she let another button. She undid another button, and our minds met. And I go, I don't understand. What are you doing? And she said, I was testing you. I had to know your unconscious, instinctual reactions. You have no lust for me, only respect, 'cause you're my son. You have passed the initiation of who you were.